Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and good night, and all of which apply to wherever you're watching. So, I want to thank you for stopping on by to another Wilhelm the Esoteric video. So, for today's video, we're going to talk about a subject matter that's quite deep and quite intense and comes from our childhood traumas and from a lot of the things we pick up along the way. I'm sure some of you watching have heard that our childhood is almost like a blueprint to who we're going to be when we become adults. Childhood is a really critical time for our life. It doesn't mean we can't change, but what we go through, what we lack, what we have too much of, what we focus on, what people have come into our lives, what situations have we been dealt? What things have we gone through? Have we been betrayed a lot? Have we had a lot of nurturing? Have we had a lot of love? Have we lacked a lot of love? This could be different for everybody, and for every era of our life, this can change. And sometimes a lot of us have to endure a lot of suffering and hardship. So for this video, we're going to talk about the Enneagram test. Now, the Enneagram is a tool that psychologists, therapists, and counselors of all sorts from around the world use. And it's based off of ancient principles and a collaboration of different schools of thought, of philosophy, and of mental health within the social sciences. Life is made up of different avenues, and these different avenues bring forth different insight that we can learn to adapt and to modify to fit our needs and necessities as a society as a whole, which is why I wanted to make this video, so we can see what our strengths, what our weaknesses are. Now, the Enneagram has 9 numbers, and out of these 9 numbers, each of these 9 numbers represents different sorts of cognitive skills, if you will, different sorts of strengths and weaknesses in areas of focus. And these areas are developed in different ways for different people throughout different parts of their life, especially when they're growing up. The parenting of the individual is critical and really conditions the individual on what to focus. And this is because of an overindulgence in certain things, perhaps a lack of certain things, and different means of the sort. This varies from individual to individual and is the uniqueness of each and every person. Out of these 9 numbers, we have a foundational number. And out of these 9 numbers comes a set of 3s, if you will. Out of these numbers, sometimes across or sometimes right below, our Enneagram number, when we're feeling stressed or when we're feeling happy or content, will go and become one of these other numbers that's across or perhaps right below it. So, this varies from person to person, and just because your Enneagram number goes from one number to the other doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. Sometimes we go to certain numbers when we're not feeling too good or when we're feeling great. Vice versa. We can take in negative connotation from either of the across numbers that we go to. Now we move on to the wing part of the Enneagram. As you see in the picture above, Enneagram numbers have their wings. For example, somebody who is a 1, an Enneagram 1 as we see here, might be an Enneagram 1 W2 or W9. What does that mean? That means that Enneagram 1 might be more towards the Enneagram 2, meaning that Enneagram 1 might be an Enneagram 1 in foundation, but at the same time it's going to have Enneagram 2 type of characteristics. Or the other way around, the Enneagram 1, if it has a strong wing for the 9, that Enneagram 1 is going to be very much like the Enneagram 9. So we need to be on the lookout for some of these characteristics. It's really helpful to get to know all of them. There's this book I really recommend called The Complete Enneagram, 27 Paths to Greater Self-Knowledge by Beatrice Chestnut, PhD. Anyway, this video is for everyone, regardless of whether you have ADHD or not. But for those of us with ADHD, these problems might be a lot more consistent. You might have to be on the lookout for these issues to come up more and more. And if you have an issue with rejection-sensitive dysphoria, it's the type of difficulty people with ADHD have, that they have difficulty with rejection. They have difficulty with feeling like they let somebody down, or like somebody let them down. And it feels really devastating. And sometimes they don't want to do an activity or see a person again for years, for days, for months, or sometimes even forever. It makes friendship really hard. So, something to bear in mind. There should be a link above if you want to check out a video on RSD. And for those of you who want to find out, how do I work on rejection-sensitive dysphoria? I know what it is. I just don't know what to do when it comes up. How do I address it? Well, there's a link up above of a video I made addressing those issues. How to handle it when you're going through it, how to handle it after the fact, and how to prepare for the next time rejection-sensitive dysphoria hits. Should be a link above if you want to check that out. So I just want to reiterate with the fact that depending on your Enneagram number, some of these points might not relate to you, or they might relate to you a little bit, some more than others, and some perhaps not at all, and that's okay. That's because we're all completely different. If you enter this with an open mind and an open heart, I truly believe you can learn a lot of stuff and you can improve the quality of your life. And if you have a partner who you know is one of these Enneagram numbers, perhaps this can make a difference for them, and hopefully you can help them improve. I would urge you to please share this with somebody if you feel this content is of some help. It could really make a difference. Anyway, the point here is to bring help and to bring insight. I truly hope that this information brings you, a friend, a family member, or a loved one, some insight and some help. We just have to come into this with an open heart and with an open mind. Now for today, we're going to be working with the Enneagram 5, the Enneagram 6, and the Enneagram 7. These three numbers, the 5, 6, and 7, are known as the head types of the Enneagram, the intellectual head type. Known also as the head center. Yeah! Usually analysis, more critical thinking are driven by these three numbers. As a result of this, though, comes the inspiration from fear and anxiety usually. A lot of the Enneagram 5, 6, and 7s out there perhaps lived in a home where they perhaps drifted away, wanted to be more introverted by themselves because they saw a lot of calamity happening from the family. Maybe the parents, they didn't feel safe, so they just kind of retreated to their headspace, introverted themselves, and just kind of stayed in the room a lot maybe, and just kind of stayed in their thoughts and, preferred that over, the scenarios going on around them. Perhaps because they were too anxiety-inducing or troubling to them. So at the same time, though, there comes a lot of difficulties because of this. So there's a lot of strengths that are attained through intellectual analysis, but at the same time, there's a lot of reframing from certain activities. But at the same time, there's a lot of avoidance of certain activities that could yield us a lot of helpful information and a lot of helpful growth information that we really need. So this video is going to focus on helping those three numbers, the Enneagram 5, 6, and 7, the head type, the intellectual type of the Enneagram numbers. So listen up, open your heart, and especially in this case, open up your mind. Let's learn something. Let's improve. Let's give it a shot. The Enneagram 5. The investigator, the thinker, the observer, the innovator, the radical, the loner, the isolated, the expert, perceptive, innovative, and perhaps secretive. We look at some main themes of the Enneagram 5.
Enneagram 5 emphasizes being the expert and having deep information. They focus on the process, objective facts, and maintaining clarity and detachment. They manage feelings by splitting off and abstracting feelings. They stay preoccupied and cerebral, as if their feelings were happening to someone else. Relation is systems. 5s reject the system and want to work on their own, outside of it. They have little patience with rules or procedures. There are a number of hidden issues here. Let me think about it. Is something an Enneagram 5 might say. We look at some foundational points of identification amongst the Enneagram 5. The Enneagram 5 identifies very strongly. The Enneagram 5 identifies very strongly with a sense of being detached. Being an outside observer to the world around them, where they don't feel like they're sometimes a part of it, and this can be on purpose. Enneagram 5s resist recognizing physical presence and state, feelings and needs, to sustain the self-image of being perceptive, smart, curious, self-contained, insightful, unusual, alert, objective. This is all at a cost, though. For an Enneagram 5, there's an experience that happens when they're young, where they feel like they didn't have their needs met, or perhaps they didn't have enough love or connection, or perhaps where they felt flooded with way too much interaction, maybe too many extrovert people around them. It can be one of both. They felt like they didn't have anybody, or they had too many people. Nonetheless, though, the basic fear of the Enneagram 5 is of being useless, incapable, or incompetent, of being helpless, overwhelmed. A big fear Enneagram 5s have is that they are never going to find a place in the world or with people. A strong desire that the Enneagram 5 has is the desire to be competent, the desire to be capable. So a lot of the time, the Enneagram 5 withdraws into their own world where they can work on concepts, they can increase their intelligence, and they can learn more and more of these abstract concepts, ideas, or systems that they want to learn more about. So what is an invitation to abundance? Kind of a little pep talk an Enneagram 5 might say to themselves. To observe yourself, the Enneagram 5 might say, and others without judgment or expectations. Remember, that is your true nature, to be engaged with reality, contemplating the infinite riches of the world. So much possibility, so much to learn, so much to do. What does the Enneagram 5 say to themselves? When will they be ready? When will they be prepared? I will become present in my life only when, the Enneagram 5 might say to themselves, when I feel completely confident and capable of dealing with the world, when I have completely understood and mastered everything I might need to know in life. Then I'll show up. What are the marching orders an Enneagram 5 might say to themselves? You're okay. You're good. If you have thoroughly mastered something, there's a contradiction to that, though. How do you know when you have fully mastered something? When are you finished? How does what you are mastering relate to the real needs in your life? 5s work on a subject or skill for many years and still sometimes lack self-confidence. A healing attitude for an Enneagram 5 might be, maybe, just maybe, I can trust people and let them know what I need. Maybe I can live happily in the world. maybe my future will be okay. The Enneagram 5 from a young age comes to an understanding that how they feel, how they think, or sometimes what they want is going to be ignored or is not going to be desired or wanted by others. This creates a big wound in the hearts and minds of many Enneagram 5s out there that they just feel like, why even bother? Why even go and try to talk to family members, friends, or colleagues? They're not going to understand me anyway. I'm here to tell you, though, a lot of Enneagram 5s, from those really, really rough, brutal experiences that happen when they're young, they learn to reserve themselves and not let the human connection come out of them. In life, one has to learn that in order to truly live and to truly create and learn these systems of which you're interested in a lot of the time, to really get that fulfillment, that zest out of life that so many Enneagram 5s look for, you have to go past your Achilles heel. You have to overcome that fear of, hey, if I go and tell someone my needs and they might not be down to help me out, that's totally cool. It doesn't matter. You let them know what you need. You know why? Because it's totally worth it. You're totally worth it. Every human being deserves love and consideration. And that might sound a bit off or a bit corny or a bit weird, because a lot of Enneagram 5s are very disconnected from their emotions. That's not to say that they don't feel them. It's just that there might be difficulty in expressing them from so many years, so many decades maybe, of not expressing those emotions. It's really healthy to talk about these things. And if you've had a hard time doing it, I'm here to tell you, here and now might be the time. Today might be the day that you tell yourself, you know what? I'm going to start little by little. I'm going to create a system of this for myself. Here I am listening to this video. I've lived my life how I've lived. There's a reason I'm watching this video. Let me take the instruments and tools that are given to me and let me make something of it. If I feel like an Enneagram 5 that has had difficulty connecting and loving those close to me and around me, then maybe I should be able to open up a little bit. Use your system and your analytical mind to see who you can trust. And if you have trust issues where you can't trust nobody, you feel like, go to your safe person, someone that you really trust. There's got to be somebody, maybe an online friend or a close family member. For your first assignment for this new system you're creating, tell them something personal about yourself, maybe a little vulnerability that you maybe haven't told anybody else. You'd be surprised how fulfilling that feels for an Enneagram 5. Go ahead, I challenge you, give it a shot. Learn to speak about what you need from within. Those experiences and those people that weren't there for you, or that perhaps made you feel bad when you were younger, that was a different time. That might have been decades ago. That might have been an eternity ago. The opportunity lies here now. It's up to you. You have the power to make that change. The beauty in life comes from allowing yourself to come to know yourself fully, intellectually and emotionally. You have to cross that bridge. You have to get to know love within yourself in order to give love onto those in the outside world. It's okay to become part of the emotion of the action that's happening. It's not going to overcome you. You can go back to your introverted, relaxed world right afterwards. It's not going to be the same as it was when you were a child. You're not going to have to suffer those same heartache and hardships that you probably felt when you could not be alone. Perhaps when you didn't feel like your needs were met and it just hurt so much that you didn't want to think about them. I'm here to tell you, that time is different. The time is now. That was a different time. You can completely make a human connection in a deep and profound way. And I truly believe that you can turn your life around if you have difficulty expressing your need for a loving connection. Because let me tell you something. Each and every human being is worthy of love and connection. Some of us might do some brutal negative things, and some people might not want to give that to us, but if we've done some brutal things, we got to stand up and we got to apologize for what we've done. We got to be the bigger person. Believe you me, Enneagram 5s, for all you guys watching, for all the family members, colleagues, or friends of an Enneagram 5 watching, there is hope, and you can change, you can improve. It starts with one little step. You don't have to go all at once. And for family members and friends of Enneagram 5s, encourage them, help them out. It's not easy to talk about these things when you've held them close to your heart in private all these years. But Enneagram 5s, I believe you all can improve. I believe in you. I believe that you can improve. You can open up that system that is love and emotion. Because you deserve it. Don't forget that. Most importantly, I believe in you. Go and create that system. The Enneagram 6. The solver of problems. The one that's always prepared. The one that sees the problem coming up and has a system prepared for any and all calamity. Or so they think. What are some of the main themes and motivations of the Enneagram 6? Enneagram 6s are defined by their desire for safety and security. They seek to anticipate and avoid risk, and to ally themselves with trustworthy authority figures and institutions. 6s are alert and vigilant, always thinking several steps ahead to anticipate and prepare for what could go wrong. We look at the basic fear of the Enneagram 6. 6s fear being unprepared and unable to defend themselves from danger. To cope with this fear, they attempt to be prepared for every possible turn of events. What is the basic desire of the Enneagram 6? This type is motivated by their need for safety and security. They seek support and reassurance from other people and are extremely loyal to people and groups that they trust. Some core characteristics of the Enneagram 6 include a strong identification with a social group, organized and well-liked, good at managing finances, excellent team player, belongs to a tight-knit group of friends, clear communicators, detail-oriented and precise. Detail-oriented and precise. What might be the balance of the self? Maybe a little pep talk an Enneagram 6 might say to themselves is to know and understand that things can turn out absolutely amazing without you planning or preparing for it. To take it easy on yourself and not blame yourself for issues that were out of your control. To reflect on the fact that people and things are not all good or all bad, including you. Just like we trust ourselves, we have to learn to be more trusting of other things and people in order to ease our anxiety. Rather than projecting your anxieties, fears, and worst case scenarios onto people and things, 6s need to learn how to reflect on those thoughts and notions that make them uncomfortable in order to improve as individuals and be able to come to terms with these issues and fears and to start to work on them instead of avoiding them. A lot of Enneagram 6s have issues confronting these thoughts, fears, or anxieties mentally. And some Enneagram 6s handle it in different ways than others. Some of them go into the combat head on, while others avoid it like the plague. It depends. Now, as an Enneagram 6, when will they be present and ready in their life? An Enneagram 6 might say to themselves, when I have prepared for every worst case scenario imaginable, researched every detail imaginable, and removed every ounce of danger or uncertainty, that's when I'll be ready and present in my life. What are some of the marching orders that an Enneagram 6 might say to themselves? They might say a little something like this: you are good/worthy only when you have fulfilled all the preparation and research for all the major threats in your life. Contradiction. Major contradiction. Life, listen up, life is completely unpredictable. You can plan a multitude of details, and everything you plan and anticipate can change within seconds, making your research and planning pointless. Lots of life's greatest moments are not planned. Without trust, your anxiety will continue to increase. Constant negative thinking will yield negative self-fulfilling prophecies. Perception is everything, but your own anxieties will make you think otherwise. Perhaps like right now. Can be a little anxiety inducing when we go against certain things that we trusted for a long time. For some of us, we have unconsciously trained our mind and brain not to question certain things because it's a little too nerve-wracking and might cause a little too much anxiety. But I'm here to tell you that it's perfectly okay for you to go to those mental places little by little. They're your thoughts, they're thought systems. And when thought systems and thought patterns get out of hand, they get out of hand because we let those thoughts and thought patterns take over our mind and our body completely. And then our central nervous system starts acting up because of it. So rather than letting your anxieties and those thought branches increase and increase, you have to logically stop them. Enneagram 6s are really intelligent people. People that are really good at navigating systems and discovering systems. So I urge you, discover the system of your anxieties in terms of your thought patterns and call them out and organize them. I guarantee you, you'll be surprised by how good you're gonna get at overcoming your anxieties once you get those thought patterns and those negative thought patterns, or those anxieties that are not realistic thought patterns. When you get all of that under control, you'd be amazed at all the great things you're going to be able to accomplish. Marching orders of the Enneagram 6 might go something like this. Perhaps there are more scenarios in life where I can trust people and places. Maybe I don't have to plan and research things as often as I do. Going with the flow can be a fun, healthy, and rewarding experience. And remember, if it doesn't work out this time, perhaps organize it a bit better for the second time. And little by little, you're gonna see how just letting experiences happen can yield beautiful results. the Enneagram 6, a lot of the time growing up, when an Enneagram 6 is really young, they have a really bad experience when they're young, where there's a lot of uncertainty and anxiety because they feel that one of their parents doesn't have the strength to take care of them. Perhaps you, as an Enneagram 6 listening to this, grew up with a parent who you felt was too weak to take care of you. Maybe they were ill and you had to parentify yourself and help take care of them. Or maybe you had a parent who had uncontrollable impulsivity issues and maybe was really violent or intense, or just maybe wasn't around. A lot of Enneagram 6s report that they have issues with their fathers, and they go into other relationships looking unconsciously to get that deep loving connection that perhaps they couldn't get with their father growing up. And that's a really brutal thing to think about. The childhood of an Enneagram 6 is so important because it marks that trust only certain people, things, and people are either all good or all bad. And the Enneagram 6 might think that of themselves too, and I'm here to tell you that none of that is true. Nothing simply is all good, all bad. There's details and variants of all sorts in the different facets on this planet Earth, amongst the people that inhabit it. Everyone and everything has different means of good and bad throughout different parts of their life, sometimes more than others. It's sometimes difficult to be so judgmental, and sometimes Enneagram 6s, we do that because we feel that's the only way to keep us safe. It's to judge, it's to question, and to protect ourselves from that anxiety we felt in our childhood. I'm here to tell you though, we sometimes have to be more trusting of things and people. We have to work on our perspective and how we analyze things and people. If we're always anxious and thinking the worst case scenarios are going to happen, or that what we fear and we project our negativity onto other people, you'd be surprised how many people are not aware of this Enneagram 6s. A lot of this stuff sometimes is in our heads. It's not really going down. It's just our anxiety from our childhood that has not been dealt with. If you have an issue with one of your parents, or both of your parents, or someone that caused you major anxiety when you were younger, perhaps you need to reflect a little bit, maybe be a little introspective. You gotta realize that your parents were human beings too. Maybe they themselves were Enneagram 6s who felt like their parents weren't there for them, or maybe like they couldn't trust their parents. Knowing oneself and understanding oneself and applying the knowledge that you learn from yourself to help you improve can really make you into a better person. If you're an Enneagram 6 or a family member, a loved one, or a friend or colleague of an Enneagram 6, I want you to know that there is hope, that you can change. You can manage your anxiousness, you can manage your impulsivity and intensity, and you can become the best person you can be. If you're a family member or friend of an Enneagram 6, give them love and support. It's not easy being an Enneagram 6. They've been through a lot, but they're very loving people to those that they love. They just need your trust. And they need you to trust them as well. Help them open up more. And when you see them being a little anxious, give them a little pep talk. And if you're an Enneagram 6 listening to this, I worked with a lot of Enneagram 6s, and I've seen the progress that they can do. And I've seen the intelligence. And something I admire in many Enneagram 6s is their knowledge, their deep knowledge of different systems. So I urge you, Enneagram 6, figure out the system that gets your anxiety under control. Analyze your thought patterns. You'll be able to conquer the anxiousness and the unease. You're going to be able to become a much better person. I truly believe it. Also, Enneagram 6s, don't forget. If you feel like nobody else believes in you, I want you to know, I believe in you. So go and be the best Enneagram 6 that you can be. Enneagram 7s are very energetic, lively individuals that really want to get the zest out of life. What are some main themes and motivations of the Enneagram 7? Sevens are defined by their desire to experience everything life has to offer, while avoiding pain and boredom. They appear to others to be lively, fun-loving, and hedonistic. Sevens are often very busy people who bounce from one activity to another in their quest to squeeze every possible bit of enjoyment out of their life. The basic fear of the Enneagram 7 includes getting stuck in a rut and missing out on the good life. Enneagram 7s cope with this fear by constantly seeking out exciting, novel, and fun experiences. The basic desire of the Enneagram 7 includes, more than anything, wanting to avoid feeling bored, sad, or uninspired. Yet again, the basic fear of the Enneagram 7 is to avoid feeling bored, sad, or uninspired. If we look at some core identifications of the Enneagram 7, we will notice the following. The Enneagram 7 is always on the go. Wide range of interest, childlike enthusiasm and energy, curious, sparkling eyes, many ongoing professional and creative projects, upbeat and optimistic, glass half full outlook, well liked and popular among peers. Very lively people who want to do a lot of things and get their zest and experience of life, but at the cost of avoiding things that sometimes need to be confronted, like negative thoughts and emotions. An invitation to abundance. What can we call a balance of the self to the Enneagram 7? It can go something like this. So know and understand that you are fully capable of reflecting and learning from negative thoughts. Sometimes we need to learn to just be present, go with the flow, and let those special moments in life just happen. Feeling and reflecting, introspection, on negative emotions like sadness, boredom, and irritability can help you gain deeper insight into yourself and gain a wider perspective on things. The point is not to dwell on negative emotions and situations, but rather to learn and reflect on them. A lot of the time, a lot of Enneagram 7s don't learn many deeper aspects of themselves and of human connection because of constantly trying to avoid negative thoughts and emotions that perhaps are not even that brutal to begin with, but from years of avoiding them, we have made them seem a lot bigger than they are. An Enneagram 7 becomes present in their life when? An Enneagram 7 becomes present when they have planned the next fun trip, adventure, or event, making sure to eliminate the possibility that something negative might happen, or even worse, nothing at all. I will also become present after I have demonstrated how much more positive things and people are. Then I will show up. We look at the marching orders of an Enneagram 7 to themselves. They might say to themselves, "You are good / worthy." Only when you have fully prepared a set list of plans, goals, of future events you will be attending. Making sure to eliminate the possibility of nothing happening. That way, things stay positive. Major contradiction. Enneagram 7s, you cannot keep running away from your problems / negative thoughts. The longer you avoid them, the bigger the issues in your life will get. You cannot out-fun your issues. Life is not always about having a good time, and things and people are sometimes not as positive as we would like them to be, and that is perfectly fine. We should learn to reflect on our thought patterns and be okay with being more realistic, balanced, and going with the flow more in different areas of life where perhaps it's currently difficult. A healing attitude for the Enneagram 7 might go something like this. Perhaps there are many scenarios in life where I do not have to plan anything. Not all great and beautiful things in life can be planned. Perhaps I can learn to become more comfortable spending time by myself, reflecting, learning, and improving. Some thoughts will be negative and others positive, and all to different extents. And you know what? That's perfectly okay, because life is filled with variety, pros and cons, and ups and downs. And our goal should be to learn and improve after reflecting on those things. There's so many beautiful things in life, you'd be surprised. A lot of the things that you want to experience can feel so much better when you have learned to confront so many negative aspects about yourself, to become more human and to become more you, most importantly, the best version of you that you can be. The Enneagram 7, when they're growing up, a young Enneagram 7 reports having a brutal experience where they felt either unsafe or like there was intense people around them, and they had to try to escape that negative feeling. Or perhaps they had a really strict parent who was brutal on them sometimes, and sometimes perhaps went overboard. So the Enneagram 7 from a young age has to learn, well, I don't like my current situation or how I'm feeling, so I have to do something fun, something joyful to help distract me from how I'm feeling right now so I don't have to face that. I'm here to tell you that you have more strength now than you did in your childhood. You are not the same person you were then. You are a stronger, more intelligent person than you were at that age. If you have trouble confronting the reality of certain instances in your life, I'm here to tell you, you don't have to do it all at once. You can start doing it little by little. Enneagram 7s are really intelligent people. They have an ability to connect thoughts, concepts, and ideals in a web-like manner in a really fast and intellectual manner. So I urge you, Enneagram 7, create those systems when you're thinking about thoughts and emotions that you perhaps don't want to reflect upon. It's really important to do that. You might be holding resentment towards maybe a parent or both of your parents or a friend or somebody that caused you harm before. A lot of Enneagram 7s have an issue with that strict parent where they felt that, hey, I couldn't say no. I couldn't stop my parent from forcing me to do something I didn't want to do. I felt like my boundary was not protected. And Enneagram 7 might say to themselves, my boundary wasn't respected, so I had to learn how to escape. And through escapism, I've learned to escape anxiety. But I'm here to tell you, Enneagram 7, you have the strength and you have the power within you to overcome that. You can face those thoughts and emotions. You can forgive your mom. You can forgive your dad. You can forgive your teacher, whoever it was that made you feel like you couldn't face those negative thoughts and emotions. The time is different. You're in a different place now than you were then. You can truly overcome that. And you can face any mental adversity you have in your mind and in your heart. With great power comes great responsibility. That is why the Enneagram 7 has the intellectual powerhouse mind that it does. If you look deep enough into yourself, you can become as analytical as you are about other things that you know a lot about. You can truly find that out about yourself and do that with all the emotional and negative mindsets and thought patterns that you're afraid to go to. You can overcome all of those things. If you are a family member or friend of an Enneagram 7 or a colleague, someone that knows an Enneagram 7 and the Enneagram 7 is close to your life, help them out. Share these ideals with them. Share this video with them. It's not easy for an Enneagram 7 to confront a lot of brutal issues that life has to offer sometimes, or perhaps things that happened in the past that were too brutal for them to reflect upon. It's never too late, but at the same time, seize the opportunity. There's a reason why you're watching this video right now. There's a reason why you're listening to me speak right now. And there's a reason why you're alive. I want to let you know, if you're an Enneagram 7, that you can do it. You can improve. You can learn to be present. You can learn to be you and be okay with being just you at that moment. Appreciate the little things in life. The majestic and beauty in life isn't always planned. Let's learn to reflect. Let's learn to be present. Go be the best Enneagram 7 that you can be. I believe in you.